Hey guys, welcome to another video on DC, and this is going to be talking about the recent Superman reactions that came out a few days ago, and they all seem overwhelmingly positive. These reactions came from a 30-minute preview of the film. So, what are we hearing from the 30-minute preview? Critical screaming, which only involved critics from different organizations and a select few fans, YouTubers, that kind of thing. No, it was I wasn't one of them, unfortunately. If I was, I'd be under an embargo anyway. But definitely not big enough to be there. But all of it seems overwhelmingly positive, with some critics even talking about how they cried at the 30-minute preview of the film that was shown, and talking about how Nicholas Hoult, playing Lex Luthor, owns a comic accurate portrayal of Lex Luthor, with other critics talking about the comic accuracy of the comics that this film was based on, that being All Star Superman and a few other stories sort of mashed in with it. But that's very much the vibe that James Gunn is going for. So hearing comic accuracy coming out of some critics and YouTubers that were lucky enough to be invited to this 30-minute preview is, something that I would consider a good thing. But the reason I'm not going to read out their full reactions or tell you which organisation said what is frankly because I don't trust the reactions overall, and this is why I don't really cover it much. But I felt when I heard I cried at 30 minutes of the film that I was kind of like, okay, I've got to cover this because this seems overwhelmingly more positive than I was expecting. And there's a reason for that, right? Like, it's because they're being probably been given a boozy lunch beforehand and an after party, and it's a big event, and you're not going to keep getting invites to such exclusive things if you don't say incredibly positive things about the media that you're being told to talk about, i.e., in this case, Superman 2025 and James Gunn Superman. So that's why I'm not going to cover their full reactions and just read out their full spiel. If you're interested to read their full spiel, I'm sure you could find that out from many other videos before me. I'm late to the party anyway. But I just thought I'd give you my thoughts on this rather exaggeratingly, overwhelmingly positive response to the Superman critical points of view and the 30-minute preview screening. I think it's over the top. Like, to say you cried at 30 minutes of a film that was 30 minutes that was cut together to basically give an impression of the overall film. I'm glad that people think it's very comic accurate to the comics it's adapting. I'm glad that critics are beginning to consider comic accuracy, and YouTubers that were there were considering it. That makes me happy. I'm sure Nicholas Hoult did a very good job. He's a very good actor in other things I've seen him in. And I'm glad that people think that he's a very good portrayal of Lex Luthor. That gives me a bit of faith and makes me more hyped and excited. But then the hype and excitement is slightly diminished and somewhat doubtful when I hear, oh, I cried at 30 minutes of the film. It's like, either they showed you a particularly really sad bit, or you just completely and utterly lost your emotional string at something really comic accurate and nerdy, or you're lying. And I'm hesitant to think that it's probably the third one because you were paid probably quite a lot to show up and you got to do this as a job and you don't want to lose that perk. I'm not saying I think the Superman film will be bad and I'm not hyped for it. Nothing of the sort, quite the opposite. I'm very hyped for Superman, but I feel that these first reactions were way over the top. I don't know about anybody else. What do you think? Comment below and let me know. But yeah, those are the first reactions for Superman. I'm glad to hear they're overwhelmingly positive, if not over the top. I'm glad to hear that Nicholas Hoult is making a very good turn as Lex Luthor. I'm glad to hear that critics are saying that we should give David Cornsweet a chance from the 30 minutes they've seen. And I think they said that the actress playing Lois Lane was very good as well, which is what you need. These are fundamental parts of a Superman story involving these characters. So I'm glad that that's the case. Although, with the Lois Lane thing, I'm sure the actress is cool. I've not seen her in much, I don't think, but I've got no shade on the actress when I say this. The clip from the interview that we saw with Lois Lane and Clark, that was obviously from the trailer itself, that portion didn't feel like them in a relationship. It just felt like them teasing each other and arguing in not a romantic way. It just didn't. It didn't. I didn't feel the chemistry like through the screen, so to speak, while watching that clip. Granted, the clip could have just been not the final edited clip. It could just be a clip for the trailer, or it's only a portion of a clip, so we shouldn't judge too much. But yeah, the romantic relationship between Lois Lane and Clark Kent, I'm glad we're skipping all the normal story beats and she knows who Clark is, but I've not seen much of that, so I can't judge on that one. I'm glad that critics are saying that they think that that's good, but I take that with a pinch of salt after seeing the Superman clip that has been circulating online I talked about earlier in a prior video on this topic, and I feel like that's the bit I'm slightly hesitant about, but the rest I'm hyped for. And I also think that you'd have to take this whole reaction from these guys as a collective, being so collectively positive, as a pinch of salt, because frankly they're being paid a hell of a lot to do this, and they're probably loving this as a job. So, they're in an incredibly privileged position, and they don't want to lose that privileged position within the industry. I do, however, feel that this was probably... I'm glad it's positive, but it needs to be positive, because I do feel like this is near the end of DC on film if Superman 2025 does not work. And I think it will work. I'm very hyped for it, and I'm very, very positive for it, but these reactions seem way over the top, and I think I know why. It's because, frankly, this needs to work, or DC is near dead on film, and I don't want it to be. As a DC fan, I want to see more than just Batman on film. I love seeing Batman on film, but Superman is a great character. The comic book accuracy of the trailers that I've seen really hypes me up, and I really want this to succeed. Anyway, enough of me ranting on about critics and things and all this topic. As I said before, what do you think? Comment below, let me know. Feel free to subscribe, share, comment, like. Do whatever you will. It really helps the channel, guys, and I really appreciate it. Feel free to recommend videos you want me to do down below if you wish. That would be cool, and I'd be happy to do them. Feel free to tell me if you think I'm rubbish. It's still interaction. Anyway, that's the end of the video, guys. Thank you for sticking with it. Cheers, and see you in the next one.